Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
How you doing?
It's good to see you. It's going. It's a handful, yes, but I have great team members. Mhm.
I seen Mac Saturday, and I said, Ray's giving it over there. He said, yeah, that girl could handle anything. She could handle anything.
Well, I hope so.
Well, you're doing a good job. I see you, come on, see your article, and stuff, and it's like you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you so much again. I have a great team behind me, so it's awesome.
Is fearless leader,
Mhm.
is Kelly still over there too? Is she?
Yeah.
You got one more, two more?
We have 7.
Seven.
Mhm.
Wow.
We're a staff of 7, so, David is our senior director of economic development. Kelly's our senior director of investment engagement. And then we have lots of other staff. You should come out and sit. Come on.
How you
It's
doing?
good to
Good
see
see
you.
you.
You think about 2 minutes kind of.
To be honest with you.
Now they have share size, right? This is like the size, this is not size. Right, it's like share size is like. Yeah, it's like normal size.
You can move it like it's in there.
Yeah.
That island.
They just sit there a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Mhm. Oh, property. Yeah. The whole section.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I don't get nice.
What if they was trying to-
Maybe there they set a generator and get me out.
Which they was pretty simple.
Yeah, hotel.
Yeah, it's full. Yeah, they said it was like Home Depot.
Yeah.
And it's just rack. Hotel. Furniture. But they're seeing he can buy it.
How's that? That's pretty darn good. That's. That might be a game changer.
Now this.
He actually. He really needs it.
Remember, when y'all don't talk in, you can't hear a word you say.
Yeah, he's here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Hello. How are you?
Long time no
It's
see.
so sweet.
Congratulations. Oh, well, thanks. He talked to me about September 2003.
Okay.
For a countywide event.
Okay.
Still from Duluth.
Okay. Well, send me an email. We'd love to get you on the calendar and you can come out. We'd love to bring you over to the chamber, let you see the office and tell us all about it.
It's kind of a destination event.
Yeah.
It's like weekend.
So I don't know.
Well, we'd love to hear more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
It's good to
All
see
right,
ya.
Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. You're about to
Put you
hear
to
more
work.
from me.
Yeah.
I'm standing between y'all and the end of this meeting.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Do you know me? Or
Oh, yes. Yeah, you do. Like a whole bottle or anything. Yeah?
So I felt guilty putting half of it back on the counter, but I'm like, where's this right now? I need like 30 more minutes. Hey, I had ended up on the.
Yeah. Which I said, yeah, 5 minutes, yeah.
It's some type of worm.
They've already bought it.
I think the part, I had a part of that, I think we had part of that.
Poor guys, they can't catch a break. It's gracious.
Got it. I heard the you know, that second one. I know that the answer was there.
They're pretty good.
Better have. Yeah, and well, that's the thing is like the counting is so different. Like there's a counting within the western part of the tribe and they take forever.
Yes. Did you vote today? Did you vote, Mr. Coleman? Did you vote? Did you vote, Mr. Ward?
I did, absolutely.
Did you vote, Chief Cole?
I did Saturday at the Rexon.
Did you vote, Officer Velez?
She did.
Did you vote, Mr. Westbrook?
Yes, I did.
Did you vote as well?
Can I tell you something?
And sir,
Yeah, voted.
you voted? I don't know where my sticker fell off, but I voted today. Ricky? Bonnie?
Mine fell off over a week ago.
But you voted. Megan? Thank you very much. It's important. No, I asked. No.
You don't live on, I feel like a long time. My kid won't mind. Took it off my shirt and wore it around.
Wore it.
Dad, my blue shirts, Andy, that's thanks up.
Arizona.
Mhm. Yeah. No. Okay. Okay. Hey, we're rolling. Hi, welcome to the Graham City Council meeting, November 8th, 2022. We appreciate you taking your time to be here today. I am Mayor Jennifer Talley and for the city of Graham, and we will start with we have a very light agenda tonight. So first thing that we'll do is, can you give the invocation?
Sure. Would you join me in prayer, please? Heavenly Father, we ask that you provide us wisdom and guidance as we go about doing the business of the citizens of Graham. Let us be mindful of your presence and that all that we do, we want to do what is right. Thank you, dear Lord, for the blessings you bestowed upon us. We ask that you bless our nation, as today is a day that we as citizens of this country have the opportunity to select our elected officials. These things we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
if you'll just wait 1 second, we have one additional item. Can I get the council to agree to make an amendment to the agenda to add on the decision for the Graham Historical Museum Board? I believe they were needing to get that one resolved, that board resolved in this agenda session. And since we had a light agenda session, but I'd just like to get the the consensus of the council to add this on as an agenda item, because typically we don't vote on something the same day that something's that's introduced. So can I get a motion and a second on adding this to the agenda item?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we add item to the agenda.
Okay, do I hear a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Do we have any suggestions for the people that have submitted applications for the Graham Historical Museum Board?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we appoint Russell Compton and Bill Walker.
Okay, can you tell the council a little bit about these people? Joey,
I will. I'm on.
he's
the-
on that
Yeah,
board.
I'm on the liaison for that museum. I know Russell Compton is very involved in doing the cemetery tours and the walking tours, and, you know, actually has a big display there in the museum and been active. And Gail Walker has been coming regularly to the meetings. She has coordinated the travel and archivist that we had voted on, and some of the other things to have done. She's also cleaned out some of the duplicates in the library, got the yearbooks that were on file in there digitized, and she's been very active, so she's needs to get rewarded for, or punished for what she's been doing either way. If you want to look at it.
So they've been volunteering even though they're not on the board, right?
Yes.
Well, I appreciate
Very-
that.
Both very active.
Okay, I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now, David. We're going to hear a report from the Alamance County Chamber of Commerce, David Putnam, Senior Economic Development Director. Aaron, would you like to speak on this?
Well, I think you just read off of my sheet. I was
Okay,
gonna basically say the same thing, but I work very closely with the chamber and David as well. So I'm gonna leave the time for him. I don't want to take any of his time up.
okay.
And give me 1 second.
Well, great. I just want to say thank you so much for the invitation to come here, Councilman and Mayor Talley. It's very exciting for me to be in front of you all today. And I actually live in Graham. I moved to Graham as a result of the job. And so just really pleased to be here and, you know, report back to the community that I now cherish so dearly. So yeah, so really what I'm here to do this evening is kind of just brief overview of the Economic Development Unit of the Chamber of Commerce. We call ourselves the Alamance Chamber, of course. And I like to say that really it's economic development and more. We have casted a broad net in what we're defining as economic development and really leveraging as economic development. And so with your permission, I'd just like to go through a few slides and overview the programs. So next slide. So just briefly kind of looking at the high notes of the different functions of our economic development service, we have product development. That's, you know, getting economic development products, as we would refer to them, as like sites or buildings up and running and prepared. Business recruitment activities, business retention and expansion activities, existing industry services, small business and entrepreneurial development, workforce development, leadership development, and then advocacy. Next slide. So what you see here is a perfect example of product development in action. So this is actually they were known as Project Thunderbolt, and it was Sunlight Batteries over in NCCP, a project that we worked very closely with. And we actually worked with Samet to construct this building, helping leverage their expertise and knowledge of the site and their development practices. And so we use them as an opportunity to get a site ready for a new industry to be moved into and help us recruit them into that building. So, and that actually leads quite nicely into my next slide, which is business recruitment. So this is that same announcement, $40 million expansion / recruitment, over 130 new jobs in NCCP. So our recruitment activities cover anything from working with a client directly to working with a state agency directly, or maybe the client's brokers. You know, we cover a breadth of services in that arena. Now, the direction that we're really taking the economic development programs is focusing a lot more on the next few slides, which we've really entitled with existing industry. So we are soft rolling and launching this program we're calling Access Growth. And so it's the re-emphasis of how important our existing industry base is. You know, these are the folks that have come and located to Alamance County and Graham or Mebane or, you know, Burlington or wherever in the county. And how do we amplify them and make them be vibrant and prosper in Alamance County rather than just going outside and looking at new industries to bring in, right? So, you know, business recruitment, I always also say in a perfect world, we'd have very little of this because all of my buildings would be filled and all the land would be occupied. So we are, again, adding an emphasis on expansion and retention activities. Next slide. So our existing industry services, this is just kind of, I really like this visual. It details a bunch of the life science companies that we have here in Alamance County. And I think it really hits home when we start to look at some of those names. Life sciences is a big bucket. And I think there's tremendous value in, you know, that life sciences industry, leaning on the great momentum that places like Alamance Community College have invested in with the Biotech Center of Excellence. We've had a longstanding history with the life sciences industry. And so we do provide services to some of those industry partners up there in supporting their, you know, whether it's workforce development functions or manufacturing operations or research operations. We extend services to them so that they know that they're supported and feel welcomed and well cherished within Alamance County. Next slide. So within that kind of existing industry services umbrella, we have a unique carve out called retention and expansion. So this would be where we might be working with an industry that wants to expand their facility. I think Lotus is a great example of that. You know, I know they're not within the city of Graham, but they've undergone 3 expansions and we've supported them through those processes, right? And so we are eager to continue to support industries within Graham so that they can experience that same level of expansion activity. We've generated a lot of expansion conversations outside of NCCP and other similar kind of industrial zoned areas. And so that is, again, we're starting to really focus on existing industries through our Access Growth program. And so you'll see a lot more of these kind of functions and activities from the chamber moving forward. Next slide. Another area of interest that the chamber has really started to emphasize over the past few years, and it's just kind of now percolating to the surface, is small business and entrepreneurial development. We feel like this is a very important node of our economic development functions. And it's evident because it's captured within our Invest 2.0 campaign, which is kind of our soft strategic plan that the chamber leverages to ensure that we are working at the, working at the behest of our investors, right? Fulfilling the vision of economic development that they have for Alamance County. And so you see here just some examples of our small business and entrepreneurial development program in action. In action. We took a small cohort known as our advisory council for this function over to the Nussbaum Center for Entrepreneurship, over to Flyworks over in Winston-Salem, just to demonstrate to them what incubators in action look like, right? So another collaboration that we have, of course, is with the Small Business Center and that network through the community college, which we find to be great partners. Next slide. So one of the hot topics in economic development right now, of course, is workforce development. In our Carolina core region alone, I think we've got pending about 20,000 jobs that we need to create over the next 5 years. And that's a tremendous number. And we're going to have to really focus a lot of attention on that. Now, the Carolina core region is big, right? So that's that region that kind of follows the 421 corridor all across the state. With that region being so big, I think we really look to our regional partners to help solve workforce solutions or workforce problems so that we can reach solutions. But it starts at the ground level, right? And so we are taking an added emphasis to workforce development at the Alamance Chamber in the sense that we're highly involved with the ETWI function, the Eastern Triad Workforce Initiative. We're highly involved with our Workforce Development Board, which will be undergoing a change. Piedmont Triad Regional Council has been realigned as our Workforce Development Board. And we're constantly hearing from our industries and local business leaders that workforce development and talent development is top of mind. So how do we better connect those resources so that we can more formalize that pipeline? Next slide. Within economic development, leadership development is a tremendous asset, right? So I want to make sure it's captured here. Leadership development, you can see some of our sub brands there that really focus on leadership development. When we think about what it takes to be a successful industry and to have highly impactful community leaders and stakeholders, it's through leadership investment programs like Leadership Alamance, Alumni Association, Community Leaders Retreat, and Alamance Youth Academy. So these are all different functions that help catalyze that leadership spirit that's within, I believe, all of us and certainly you all. And it helps to unlock it. And so for us to be able to do that and offer that service is a tremendous boon for some of our more affluent industry leaders like Glen Raven, LabCorp, really that entire buffet of existing industries that I showed you before. So it's a very important function of economic development that we do focus on. Next slide. And then finally, advocacy is, kind of that last mile mark that I'm going to touch with you guys today. Advocacy is tremendously important. We need to make sure that we're offering a platform for folks to have their voices heard, whether it's through the Board of Education Candidate Forum that we co-sponsored with Elon University, Impact Alamance, and the Alamance Chamber, of course, or the Advocacy Council and the Candidates Reception that we help host. Those are all core functions of what I would like to consider economic development. So, and then I think that's the rest of my slides, but I definitely want to leave room for questions. I know I breezed through a lot of content, so happy to respond to anything.
I think there was a discussion about a month ago about workforce being consolidated and us losing our local center or branch or whatever. What's the status of that?
So as I understand it, we're not losing our local branch, which I would call the Career Center. That is a function that's really housed at the state level, and they help so they kind of leverage the local workforce development boards, which ours has been for a long time, regional partnership. They help kind of administer that Career Center, but I don't think that's on the table for discussion. At least I haven't heard any shifts of that facility since the county voted to align with a new workforce development board. So
Okay.
I think that's preserved.
Okay, that's good. So that was the main question that I had. I think, if we hear of people that are wanting to come to Graham, is there any kind of assurances that we can get that if we kind of pass the ball, so to speak, to the chamber, that you will, if the lead comes from us, that you would do your level best to make sure that that stays in Graham or brings that person to Graham.
Absolutely. Lead generation is a really core function of our site selection or kind of business recruitment activity. We want to protect the integrity of that relationship, certainly, especially if it comes from a lead source that's local. I think that's a very important factor of that. And, we offer that for a number of reasons, but it is really important that, let's say the lead comes from you, Mayor, and we're going to keep that insular to Graham as best as we can. We're not going to let it, permeate to other jurisdictions. Now, clients talk, right? And they go on MLS search engines just like everyone else does. So another property might catch their eye, or there might be some reason that, Graham isn't a great fit, but we would do everything in our power to help support that.
Okay, that's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being a Graham resident.
David's being modest, but at the Piedmont Triad meeting that was last month, David was recognized. I can't remember the award, but you were recognized for the business development that you did last year. Do you remember?
Yeah, I was very honored to receive that award. It was the 2022 Randall Lake Billings Award from the Piedmont Triad Regional Council for Excellence in Public Service. They awarded that to me because of my commitment to the region and economic development activities over the past few years. So I was very honored and very happy to share that moment with you, Mr. Chin.
We're glad you're here and part of our chamber. And we want to bring your expertise to bear here. So when you said you'd moved to Graham, it was like, okay.
We just opened Bernie's Bakery today on Court Square, which is they had a great turnout for our ribbon cutting today, and encourage everybody to stop by there. They're open 7 to 7 Tuesday through Saturday, and get you a glazed croissant.
I'm sure my wife and I will be frequent flyers.
Okay.
They'll be looking to get rid of us. So let me
Okay.
put it that way.
Well, they had a good crowd there today, so I think they're going to be very popular. I think there was even a wreck out front there today because people were.
Too much traffic.
Well, I happen to know because I know a lot of people here in Graham, and I saw the police officer Cross was there, and I said, "What's up?" And she said, "I'm down here trying to get my fill of these things." And then this lady came and sideswiped my car.
Oh.
So she wasn't mad.
Well, she got Bernie's, right?
She wasn't mad. I even said to the officer, I said, "Gosh, don't you wish every crash ended this happy?" And he says, I know, maybe I should just carry some Bernie's with me. Yeah, they had a good time. Come on down here. Doesn't matter. Anybody else have any questions for David?
I do not.
Come in.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you all very much.
All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. I'd like to make a motion that we remove items C and D from the consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I make a motion that we pass the consent agenda with the exception of C and D.
I second your motion, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And item C is to approve amendment of the 2022-2023 pay plan, adding police lieutenant classifications at a pay grade 24 and to approve hiring 2 new lieutenants. And what I'd like to suggest is that we wait until we do our pay plan study, which is in the works, and let that person make sure that they would have a pay grade for that particular line item if the chief determines that she wants to be able to do that, but I think it's a lot easier to read with a new pay plan study, because there's gonna be some shakeup, so to speak, I would imagine, with pay alignment. It's been how many years since we've done a pay study?
I would guess around 7 or 8.
Yeah, and the pay has changed significantly from 8 years ago. So I would just like the chief to look kind of as a whole at that pay study, and then try to look at doing any kind of realignments at that time or new positions at that time. It's in this current budget year. So do you think maybe we'd have something by January or February?
No, not by then. We hope to have it by the time the new budget year rolls around, but with so many projects and consultants being so far booked out, it's not a guarantee that it'll be completed by the end of this fiscal year. That's our hope, but
Okay.
just not sure.
Well, I'd like to see if we could do that. My big thing was that when we got new officers added to the police department, we really wanted those police officers to be patrol officers and be responding to citizens 911 calls and kind of boots on the ground. And until we can see how all the pay is gonna kind of be organized out based on budget numbers that we have at the police department, I'm not necessarily in favor of making someone that is a patrol officer an administrative officer. And just a couple of years ago, I know that there were these lieutenant positions, and they came to council and said they didn't need those positions anymore. And so those positions were eliminated, and now they're saying they need those positions back. But I would like to ask the council if we could just wait for the pay plan study to make sure that we're prioritizing the right positions, and give the chief an opportunity to be able to look at that based on the new numbers that come in from the consultant. I just don't want to have us create positions and then not have the money to fund those positions in the upcoming budget year. I'd like to look at all of it, kind of like what we're doing, and then let her say, this is what I really feel like strongly that I need. And these are real numbers that we're gonna have. And this is what, she'll kind of be able to propose for a new budget for next year.
Can I make a motion? Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table the amendment to add the 2 lieutenants until after the pay plan is finalized and submitted, at which time we will review whether we need to hire the lieutenants or not.
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Uh,
Okay. And D, to approve a budget amendment transferring federal drug forfeiture funds in the amount of $45,100 to the federal drug fund account balance for law enforcement. Can you, manager, please, Megan, if you could just tell us a little bit about what is being proposed for the 45,100. It wasn't in the agenda packet.
Yeah, I can give you some of the items, and then Captain Velez may want to fill in some of the other gaps. They were purchasing a used BMW motorcycle for the police department and the production of a recruitment video. I know were 2 items, and then I believe the upfit of the motorcycle was in there as well. That's not the total of the 45,000, so Captain Velez may want to speak to the other items.
How much was the motorcycle?
Just the purchase, I think, was around 7,500. That would not include upfit.
think it's already it's pretty close to being ready. It's a
Yeah.
purpose-built police motorcycle. It's the same one the Highway Patrol uses.
Right.
And the other item, I think, was the public relations,
The production video, yeah.
PR consultant.
Okay, Tofano.
Okay. To 37,600 for a recruiting video?
No, that was
Oh.
only another fraction of the money to be transferred for that. It's also to go toward expansion of the K-9 program and getting equipment as we're gonna be eventually getting more K-9s and K-9 officers. That was the entire purpose of the transfer of the forfeiture funds. I mean, how much more detail would you let me go into about that? I mean,
And this,
exactly.
this is not anything new. This is something you've always done. It's just the way that you're able to access those funds
Exactly.
has
yes.
changed.
Right.
Yeah, it's not normal, it's not budgetary funds, it's not taxpayer money, it's drug forfeiture funds. They sit in a specific
True.
account and we have to come to the city to have it moved to our account. That's all. it is.
In
We're-
the past, you haven't had to come before council though, right? It was just moved, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
my-
and
Uh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
My understanding that a lot of this money is already spent because it was,
Mhm.
it was gonna be there.
Yeah.
And now you have to just come to
Yeah,
pay your dues.
Yeah, in accordance with state statute, we can't spend funds and we, PD, we're all the same unit, can't spend funds that haven't been appropriated. So in the budget that the council approved for this year, it showed, I believe, $100 as sort of a placeholder for federal forfeiture funds. So it was $100 in revenue and $100 in expenditures. We balanced, we were good, but their purchases would exceed $100. So in order for us to be able to lawfully move forward, we have to take those funds from where they sit. You know, they've said that they're meeting the guidelines, you know, to be able to spend that, but we just have to put it into the budget so that we can meet North Carolina general statutes in addition to the other requirements that they have.
it's literally just moving money from one place to another.
Right, but 20 years ago, when we had a different city manager, I mean, I remember moving funds, they would come to the city council and get those funds approved. So I can't explain to you why they weren't being, why those requests were not going through
Can-
city council in the past under a different city manager, but I mean, I have full faith that Megan's gonna follow the statute to the letter of the law, so,
Yeah, she will.
Yeah, and I don't think on anyone's part, it was any sort of nefarious activity. It's just kind of one of those things when you know better, you do better. And we just want to make sure that we're following all the guidelines to be in compliance.
There you go.
so could we postpone this till next month so that we can have some, I don't have anything from them that says what they're spending the money on.
Sergeant, it was prepared a staff report. Have y'all not seen that?
Yeah, the staff
Yeah, but
report
it's
that was submitted doesn't have an itemized
Okay,
breakdown.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, some of the stuff, like I said, some of this stuff is, we've already spent the money. It's just moving it around to the proper line item account.
Well, note to self, don't spend money before.
I mean,
Yeah, there have been numerous discussions on the proper procedure. So I do believe from not just today, but a couple of weeks ago, we're all on the same page
right.
with where we go from here.
And I appreciate that, Megan. I appreciate you putting those correct procedures in place and making sure that all the department heads understand how to go through the process. Is there a way that either you or Ben or the chief can come back to our next city council meeting and just have an itemized list of what those are?
Yeah, I'll pass it along.
Okay, thank you. Can I make a motion that we postpone this line item until the meeting in December?
Second your motion, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like to make a request to be recused in regards to the next item on the agenda. There is on the agenda is a building that we own and we're asking for historic landmark status in order to get an easement from DOT. So can I get a motion from a council member to ask me to allow me to be recused out of
Madam Mayor,
this?
I make a motion that you be allowed to recuse yourself for the historic landmark designation for Nick's building due to ownership of the building.
Do I hear a second?
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ricky, our Mayor Pro Tem, will take over for this item.
All right, Mr. Aaron, bring us up to speed, buddy.
All right. The mayor actually touched on some of what I was going to speak on for the purpose, but just a little background on how we got here. The Historic Resource Commission actually reviewed this and made a recommendation to City Council to designate the Nick's building located at 102 South Main Street as a local historic landmark. The building has been in existence about as long as the city of Graham has been incorporated. City staff does recommend approval. And I'll turn it back to you.
Now, do we have to open a public hearing for this? Or is it just a straight vote between?
Excuse me.
Okay. All right, guys. Do I hear any discussion?
I have no issue with it.
I think it's pretty straightforward. It's
Yep.
an old building that needs to be protected.
Right.
Make a motion to approve the designation.
I'll
I
second.
second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion that we allow Mayor Talley to come back to the podium.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Go get it, buddy.
Left the building. All this is left. the
Well,
building.
Go and roll with it, Ricky.
let's move on to item number 2. While we waiting on the mayor to find herself. Bring us up to speed, buddy.
All right, so at the conclusion of last month's city council meeting, staff was directed by council at the request of Mayor Talley to review our current ordinances pertaining to panhandling within the city. While panhandling is considered a form of speech that's protected by the First Amendment, activities that sometimes accompany panhandling, like impeding traffic, littering, trespassing, or communicating threats, are not legally protected and do violate city ordinances. The following language addresses the regulatory changes in accordance with legal review by repealing section 12-3 in its entirety and adding a new section under section 12-20, public panhandling, begging, charitable and political solicitation. I would like to also point out that council cannot, based on general statutes 168-175B, adopt this and put it into place at this meeting. We would have to bring it back for review next month.
Okay. So do we need to make a motion on it tonight or do we need to have a second reading? for it?
Well, the motion to bring it back next month would be what council would have to do
All right,
for us to have it put into form for.
I make a motion that we,
Did we make a motion to bring me back?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just have a question from Bob. This is the same one you have in Burlington. How do you feel about it as far as implementation?
We reworked, this, excuse me, back in 2018. It's actually been in the place 4 years, in the city of Burlington. And it hadn't been challenged, I'll put it that way. And so I feel like if properly enforced, it will certainly be effective in Graham.
We've had a lot of problems here lately with that. a lot of complaints about the panhandling. And, I already know how Miss Bonnie feels about people being too aggressive. They literally won't take no for an answer and, using intimidation and kind of manipulating your way about and telling just factually bold-faced lies to people in order to con people out of money. I have no problem with someone asking someone for, for help or whatever, but I have two veterans sitting on the city council, and one person in particular, wears veteran clothing and a veteran hat and tells people that they're a veteran and they're not. And it'd be no other different way of somebody trying to con somebody out of money or saying, my car broke down and really the car didn't break down. And I think, the aggressiveness of it is very, unfortunate. And I don't want people that come down here, we're supposed to be promoting visitorship, and I don't want them to feel like they're being harassed and intimidated to just simply come here and get something to eat, or if they're trying to shop at one of our stores. So it's just a piece of paper without the enforcement from law enforcement. But you feel like it's pretty strong that,
I think it is. I think it certainly meets the constitutional guidelines. And a couple of weeks ago, we met with a representative of the police department, and I think everybody's on the same page with respect to the enforcement. So I believe it's a good start, and I think it will be effective.
Vicky, did you have a motion?
Make a motion that we move this forward to the next meeting for approval.
Second. For a second reading?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we are done. We are ready to go party. There is a big party tonight at 584, I believe.
Public comment.
Oh, okay. Is there any, I didn't think there was because I didn't get a sheet. Yeah, okay.
Westbrook.
So, and can we,
Mr. Westbrook,
to have,
or is he just here?
nobody signed up. Do you have anything? Do you have anything, Josh? Do you have anything?
Long and Albright, we're gonna park the truck on Long and Albright Water and Sewer probably in the next 2 weeks, the contractor told us. And that's water and sewer is approved last spring, thing on pipe materials on. And we are currently pricing out, doing some additional water improvements.
Bob,
No, ma'am.
Aaron, what's the status of the street striping so people will stop parallel parking on Main Street? Oh my gosh.
I believe Bert had given us an update that I think it's supposed to be. Was it the end of this week?
This week.
At
I
9?
think it was, I thought it was,
They were also supposed to give us a heads up of when that's gonna actually happen. So unless, and Burke's usually pretty quick about sending that to us, but it's supposed to be in this week. So the week is
Okay.
still early technically.
I don't know. I would love to know who the person is that communicates with the DOT thing, because I'm gonna just tell you,
Yeah.
they were already complaining right before the Halloween event that we were having about the people out there doing the landscaping and blowing at 11:30 at night. And I just coincidentally happened to be down there, and one of the residents was, and I said, well, they're trying to get ready for the big event tomorrow, and they don't have time to do it during the day, so they're trying to do it tonight. And I mean, be thankful that they're out there. I mean, they're trying to do a good job. They're paying their employees out there at 11:30 at night to make it look nice. So I should have known, I shouldn't have said anything because literally at 11:45, I just had that conversation at 11:30, and at 11:45, DOT thinks it's a good idea to start jackhammering the road, put in a manhole. And they were there till I left at 3:45, and they were still there jackhammering. A manhole isn't that big. I have no idea why they kept but it was the whole time, Jack Cameron. So I'm sure there were a lot of people complaining about that. And when I went over to talk to them, they said, well, we just found out yesterday we were supposed to be out here today doing this. He said, yesterday they said they were gonna do it next week. Who's the one that makes that, who's the person? Because poor Renee, she gets stuff sent to her at 6 o'clock saying they're gonna be there at 8 o'clock. I mean,
Yeah.
she's already gone by 6 o'clock.
It's interesting.
Luckily, she checks her email after 5 o'clock. She's so good. But a lot of people are gone. Is there a way to have a better communication with DOT about that?
We can definitely try to get a better contact. I know Burke's more plugged in with them on this project. We could talk with them tomorrow and see if we can get some better communication on how this is gonna go.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
Just wanted to quickly throw out, I'm not sure who on the council wants to serve on the steering committee for the comprehensive plan update. We can only take 1 or 2 just because we don't want to have the quorum situation in play. But we'll be reaching out to, of course, the planning board members. Hopefully Dean and a couple other individuals on that board will be willing to sit on it. They want to get about 12 people. And then some other boards and citizens. If you have any in mind that you would like for us to throw on the list, please send over and we'll try to get that formulated because we get ready to have the kickoff here probably within the next month or so. So we want to make sure that, we're bringing it all to the council and y'all are up to speed on what we're doing with that. And that was it.
You have anything, Renee? Are we good council members? So, do you have
Yeah, ma'am.
anything? Rick?
Just to remind everybody about the hot dog,
United Way.
United Way thing. That's pretty cool.
Hot dogs tomorrow.
At the last Burlington Transportation Committee, this is for Mr. Westbrook's benefit. We brought up the matter of approaching Department of Transportation in regards to Elm Street 40, US 49, and changing that to have one of the lanes become a pedestrian lane. So that is being explored.
I've been working on it. What is the status of our, huh?
I say, I know y'all and I appreciate y'all been working on that too.
We applied for a grant for a pedestrian, grant from DOT. Is the status of that?
That was, I think in the last update where it was announced that we received the funding.
Good.
So we're now getting all the logistics as far as the paperwork and finding out what we're supposed to do next, taken care of now. But we are recipients and we are moving forward with that.
Okay. I didn't get that last update because every time I try to click on Teams on my computer, it crashes. Is there a different way for me to view it other than through Teams?
So the update is in SharePoint. So if you have time, maybe stop by and we'll try to take a look at it and see what it's doing, because it shouldn't be trying to open Teams.
So it tries to open Teams
That's very unusual
and it crashes.
and crushes too,
Yeah,
maybe.
it crashes and crashes, whatever. It won't work. It won't open. So why would it try to open Teams if it's sending?
There's a gremlin in there. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's weird. And Bonnie, did you have anything?
I do not, no ma'am.
Okay, thank you all for being here tonight. I hear a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion, we adjourn at this time.
Less than an hour. I think it's a record. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?